Big news and riots coming out of France this weekend. We haven't even had a chance to talk about that, but we will. But in Paris right now is Alan Dershowitz. He's getting ready to get up on stage and speak, but we wanted to take just a couple of minutes. The decision on Trump immunity, or actually it's presidential immunity, came down, and I think it's a win for the Republic. I think that's the way I would have ruled. It was 9-3. Alan, any thoughts on it and what it says?
You know, I'm in Paris, speaking to you from the place of riots and demonstrations. I'm not part of that.
Jeez.
But I predicted exactly this decision in my book, Get Trump. I said that neither side would have a complete victory and that the Supreme Court would rule 6-3, that if it's well within the authority of the president, he has immunity. But if it's outside the authority, and now the question is which is which, and does it have to go back to the trial court to determine whether the indictment alleges things that are covered by immunity, whether it covers things that are not covered by immunity. So this is the first step in what will be a multi-step process, and it probably means that there won't be a trial before the election.
Right. So that's a win for Donald Trump. But
I think so.
Is this a win for the Republic? Because we can't have one of the branches going after the other branch. And then we also can't have people dragging the president into the courtroom for everything that he does. He's got to have immunity on official stuff, right? But
I agree.
Do you agree with this line?
Yeah, I agree with the line in general, but I think it's going to be hard to implement in practice because everything the president does, he does as president. That's very hard to separate out private acts from public acts. But, you know, for example, the president orders the targeted assassination of Soleimani. Surely he has to be immune for any prosecution for that. But what if the president, orders troops to have a coup d'etat and keep him in office, hypothetically? He probably shouldn't get immunity for that. So I do think that this seems like the right line. And now the problem is it's going to be implemented by the lower courts, and the lower courts of the District of Columbia are completely biased against Trump. So it may come back to the Supreme Court. This may not be the last word from SCOTUS.
Any thoughts before we let you go? So I know you have to get to the stage. Any thoughts at all on what should be happening with the president on stepping down? I don't know how you could say he should step down from the campaign and not as president. What's the right thing to do?
What I worry about is the alternative. Look, there's no question that Biden, he himself admitted he has slowed down. He's, less able than he was. The question is, what's the alternative? If he does step down, the Democrats may nominate some radical, progressive person who will be terrible for the country, terrible for peace in the Middle East. We may see, an attempt to try to get real radicals as president and vice president. So sometimes the devil you know is better than the devil you don't. And we'll see what the Democrats do. If they were to nominate some moderate person, that might be good. But if they use this as an excuse to let the progressive wing of the party take over, it won't be good.
Alan Dershowitz, thank you very much. Stay safe.
Always my pleasure. Thank you. Yep.
All right. You bet, Bobby. Alan Dershowitz. That's an interesting thing coming from Alan Dershowitz, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the whole very interesting day here, and I think a very good one for Donald Trump. I mean, this ruling, going through it, is, I think, exactly what he would want here. It doesn't give him, full immunity on everything he did while he was in office. And that would be, I think, bad for the country, right? Like if he had this ability to have complete immunity, and any president to have complete immunity on anything they did, it would be completely ridiculous. But that's what the impeachment process is for first. Right. And also Trump's lawyers basically argued this. They even said we wouldn't have the right to murder a bunch of people for fun, right? We're talking about official acts. Now, what the court is saying is we have to, first of all, there's a presumptive immunity for a president when dealing with these situations. So you're going to start off with the idea, okay, there is immunity because he was president. Then there has to be some sort of determination process between whether it's an official act or an unofficial act. So they send it back to the courts to say, you guys got to figure this out. Are these official acts or not? You rushed this so much, you never even took the time to figure out whether these were official acts or not. There's some sort of process there, which, by the way, the court notes, we don't know what it is. There is no actually official process to figure out whether these are official acts or not. So this is a maze of legal rulings and challenges, and the bottom line to all this is basically, I could be wrong on this, Glenn. I will admit if I am, but like, to me, this basically kills the possibility of either of these January 6th cases coming before this election. Like, it goes from unlikely to impossible with this ruling.
Well, if President here, let me make a prediction. If the president President Trump loses this election, these cases will just disappear. If the president wins this election, they'll fight it tooth and nail, and they'll drag him all the way through. But I think people are tired of all of this stuff.
Yeah.
Myself, the last part of the debate when they were going back and forth, and Joe Biden was making fun of Donald Trump's weight. I mean, was he really actually doing a fat joke there? I mean, I couldn't believe it. And finally Trump did say, let's stop acting like children here. I think people just, their lives are in enough turmoil. They'd like somebody to pay attention to them, please.
I think that's right. And it's an amazing day. I mean, if you stop for a second and go back a year, right? 6 months. There was a possibility of 4 cases coming up against Donald Trump that could go up to 91 charges against him. And we had no idea where this was going. One of them has gone through, 34 convictions, but we've seen the results of that. Has not moved the election at all. Everyone saw that as the weakest one, and it's going to be overturned anyway. It's nonsense, in my view. That leaves you with the 2 January 6th, which, on the consequences of them, regardless of what your feeling is, those were the most impactful. If he were to get convicted on those charges, that could have been impactful in the election, even though I think obviously the government was overreaching on all this stuff. Well, both of those are dead before this election now. The only thing...
And the Fanny Bryce, or whatever her name...
Fannie Willis.
Fannie Willis. I'd much rather have Fanny Bryce do it. But she is... that thing is pretty much dead. I mean, it's not.
I think that's dead, especially with this ruling. I don't think. I think it's dead. We will see. It could still wind through. They can find their outs. We all know that. But I think it was dead anyway. Most likely now, I think it's dead. And then you have the documents case, which again is, keeping documents to me is the lowest of consequences in this.
Right.
But still, he had trouble there. But it looks like there's no question that's going to be pushed past November as well. So we're kind of at that point that the whole, hey, this is going to be an election about legal charges against Donald Trump is over. I mean, whatever consequence has occurred is what we're going to see. This is it. There's no more moving this election on charges by Democrats. I mean, Trump had already won the back and forth on this by getting it to the Supreme Court and having it take this long. Like, just if they got a delay and he got a horrible ruling, it still would have been a win for Trump because of the way this played out. But this is much better than that option. Like, this is for him, this is going to wind around the courts forever. I mean, there's no chance of this happening before November now.
And it's the right thing too. It's not just about Donald Trump. This is the right thing to do for the Republic.